Today I wanted to show you the development process of my new plugin called Instant Sound. So what I'm going to be doing is just walking through each of the steps I took to create this plugin, and hopefully I can give you some insight on how a plugin like this can be created. And this plugin is kind of simple, it's not really something crazy. So if you are a beginner like me, you can simply make a plugin by just following these steps and just doing something similar to what I did here. So let's just jump right into it. So I'm going to show you my plugin first. So this is how the plugin looks. Right now there are no presets, but I have made some, so I'm going to try to upload them sometime soon. So you're going to have a few presets here to just check out what this plugin can do, and then you can save your own presets and delete some presets and scroll through them. And I'm also going to show you how you can make a preset manager like this in this video as well. So keep watching for that. Right here we have two oscillators with 4 different waveforms and an ADSR envelope. So here you have all of your sliders, and the sustain slider can go down to 0 to make short plucky sounds, but the other ones don't. And then there is a filter here with a few options like low pass, band pass and high pass, just some standard stuff. And here is a frequency control, a resonance one, and this here is the red zone as I call it. And these are just some distortion effects which can destroy your sound. So this here is a distortion section. So a gain before the distortion and a mix knob. And then here is a bit crusher. So the higher you go, the more bit crushed it becomes. And at 8000 it's completely destroyed. Around here you can get some nice rain lo-fi effects. So yeah, that's the bit crusher. And here you can actually turn on the red zone, but I'm going to show that a bit later. And then here you also have a reverb with some normal controls like size, width, dry, wet. And the dry wet controls are like that because I used the juice module and I just didn't want to code a normal dry wet slider. So you can make it just go down to 0 and then there is going to be no sound, or turn both of them up. But that's not such a big problem for me, because I think everybody will understand what these sliders do here. You just turn down the dry and turn up the wet to make the sound more reverby. So that's pretty simple. So then here you have a big button in the middle, the red zone button and a gain slider. And what this button does is it randomizes the sliders. But some sliders don't get randomized in a full range, because I just tuned all of this randomization so it generates better sounds. So I just connected the MIDI keyboard here in the options section, and this is the juice option section. So if you're going to use this as a plugin, you're just going to have your DAW and you can connect your MIDI keyboard there. So let's just try it out. So this here is the default sound. So just some sine waves. And then let's just randomize it. The volume is a bit low on this one, so let's just trace again. And that's one sound generated. So let's just reset the gain by double clicking on it, and let's generate another patch. So this here sounds a bit like a piano and a big hall or something. So I think you get the idea. You just press on this button and you get a different sound each time. You can also tweak all of the parameters. So for example here, this is just extremely high, so I'm going to low pass it. and it's just a much nicer sound now. So you can tweak all of this how you want. And right now let's try the red zone. So let's just turn it on and let's just generate another sound. Okay, so we got this crazy lo-fi kind of sound, and let's generate another one. So as you can see, you can also generate some kind of weird sounds, distorted bit crush sounds with it. And basically it's just a plugin you can pull up and just get some sounds, get some ideas to just quickly create a melody in your DAW by just randomizing the sounds and just trying different things out. So it's really simple to use and it's really fun to play around with. So now let's actually go into the development process of this. So right here is a page for a plugin called Regen Light, and this was actually the inspiration for this one, because this here can generate a random sound by clicking on this button here, and it has like 3 flavors, like 3 different plugins, and each of them has like a different vibe to it. Like this one I think was like more spacey, but I'm not really sure, and this one was like more retro, but they had a few problems. So one of them being the high CPU usage. In FL Studio it used like 50% of my CPU, and my plugin probably used like 5% or something, so it's just a lot more CPU efficient. And as you can see here, it's only available for FL Studio and Ableton Live, but only the best version of Ableton, which supports Max for Live. So it's not really worth it if you use a different DAW, because then you need to switch and maybe even pay a lot of money for the DAW just to use this plugin. So I made a plugin which is available for as many operating systems as possible, so macOS, Windows and Linux. Obviously there are others, but I just don't feel like supporting them, and Juice doesn't support them natively, so it's just not going to be that easy for me. That's why I just won't do it right now. And I also try to support quite a few formats. The Audio Units version somehow doesn't work, so maybe I will look into it later, but for now I just have it in VST3, which almost every DAW supports, and LV2, which is an open source format. So for example, it's going to be really good for Linux users. Right now I have support for Linux and macOS, but I'm also planning on making it for Windows. But you can actually just download all of the files and build it for Windows yourself, so it's technically available for Windows. So now you hopefully understand why I made this plugin, and my plugin is definitely not as good as this one in terms of sounds, because mine is kind of more simple and this one has a ton of different plugins inside of it, because it uses FL Studio Patcher or Max for Live, which both allow you to kind of mix and match a lot of different things. So Patcher can connect FL Studio plugins, and Max for Live can connect these little building blocks. So you can create a really powerful plugin by basically connecting other plugins with each other. So that's how this plugin was developed. I think I would be able to make something like that as well, but it just uses too much CPU, and it's only available for FL Studio and Ableton Live Suite. So that's why I made this plugin. So the next step was to build a simple synth. Here is a tutorial by the audio programmer from 3 years ago, so it's pretty relevant, but still you need to change some things because Juice changes a lot. Like for example, you need to add the Juice prefix before a lot of stuff, because back then you didn't need to use it, but today you need to do that. So I just went through all these tutorials, skipping a few like this one, and this one, and just making a synthesizer. After this, I had a simple synthesizer which could make some sounds. And then I actually just implemented simple randomization for the parameters, and you can look at how it's done on my GitHub. So just simply find the plugin there and you're going to find all of the source code. Maybe I'm going to link it in the description, but I can't promise that. So after that, I had a plugin which could generate some random sounds, which maybe weren't that good, but there were some sounds which were randomly generated, so that's already kind of a progress. So after that, I added a background image for my plugin, and the audio programmer also has a tutorial on that. So it's actually from Landon Theater, and this tutorial explains how you can put a background on your plugin or just generally any image you want to use on your user interface. And here is the image I made in Canva. It's kind of complicated because, I just need to use Canva things and actually tried gradients for the background, but they didn't work out really well and stuff like that. I just tried things out, and this is how it looks. It has quite a lot of elements, but it's not actually that hard to make. And this kind of a retro style I went for here. As you can see, like here there are some keyboard symbols everywhere and stuff. So that's how I made the user interface in Canva. And then after that, I also made a preset manager because I wanted to be able to save presets. And there were a few other things I did, like the gain slider and also the red zone and the red zone button. And I also added a reverb and some other stuff like that. So I need to write classes for that. But it was actually not that hard because I already knew how to do it, and because I could copy a lot of code from other classes. And you can also check that code out on my GitHub as well. So that's actually how I made this plugin. It isn't that complicated, but it took a bit of time, maybe like a month or so, of like 30 minutes of development a day maybe. And I took my time with it, but I think it's pretty good right now. It's not like a commercial product, but it's still a really nice plugin to play around with. So you can make a plugin like this as well, probably in a similar time frame. Maybe if you spend a bit more time on it, you can make it in a few days or a week or something. But I just don't like rushing stuff, so I just made this plugin for fun in like my free time. So this is how it looks. It is fun to play around with, as you have already seen. So if you want to download it, you can do that on my Gumroad page, which is probably going to be linked in the description. And you can also go on my GitHub and build it yourself for whatever system you use. So if you use Windows, you're going to need to do that. But maybe I'm going to build it myself as well, so everybody can just use the official build. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and leaving a like.